Our nation's federal budget is more than a bottom line. It's a statement of our nation's values. That's why in the 116th Congress, the House Budget Committee has been busy examining the issues that will support strong economic growth, but also the steps we can take to ensure every American has the opportunity to succeed.
The hearing will come to order.
We've held 31 hearings, heard from 111 witnesses, and published 85 reports. We heard about the challenges facing America's workers and seniors and the need to strengthen retirement security.
From where I come from, Rochester, New York, and we have the highest percentage of older adults in poverty in New York State. And I have to say, you touched upon a group individuals who are most affected, women, people of color, and certainly women of color. And we see them barely getting by each day. So any cut to Social Security would throw millions, I believe, of older adults into poverty.
We examined the repercussions of the Republican tax law on American families.
I think actually something's gone seriously wrong when you have a $1.9 trillion tax bill and there are a single mother with 2 kids working full-time minimum wage who gets $75 from this law. And there are 11 million kids in working families just like her. So to really fix this and prioritise those working families, we could have and should have seen a substantial increase in the child tax credit and earned income tax credit for those working families. And that should be the first thing that lawmakers prioritise when fixing this law.
We explored the costs of climate change and its impact on our federal budget and economy, from the coast to the heartland.
The last decade has seen dramatic advances in our understanding of the economic value of the climate. Crucially, we are now able to use real-world data to quantify how changes in the climate cause changes in the economy. This means that in addition to being able to project how unmitigated emission of greenhouse gases will cause the physical climate to change, we now also can estimate the subsequent effect that these changes are likely to have on the livelihoods of Americans.
We studied how immigration makes our economy stronger and brightens our fiscal outlook.
Immigrants and their children also will fill enormous holes in the workforce left behind as they retire. Over the next 10 years, without immigrants and their children, the country's working age population would plummet by 7 million people. These immigrants' payroll taxes will shore up the country's social safety net for years to come and help to ensure we honor the commitment we made to older Americans now turning to us for support.
And Fed Chair Jerome Powell appeared before the committee to discuss the importance of aggressive fiscal policy for supporting the economy through recessions and emergencies.
There is fiscal space to react today, and there will be for some time, but over time, fiscal policy has been a key way that the government has reacted to support the economy in times of weakness. Over time, as debt grows, it may be that lawmakers are less willing or even less able to do so. And in a world of very low interest rates, it's very important that Congress be able to support the economy because, we won't have as much room to cut. We'll be using all of our tools aggressively, but we'll need fiscal help, possibly.
We could not have imagined how relevant his testimony would be. A few months later, the coronavirus pandemic started wreaking havoc on our nation. Beyond the devastating life and death consequences, millions of Americans found themselves out of a job and in dire need of support as COVID cases climbed and our economy came to a screeching halt. We got to work examining how Congress could protect American lives and livelihoods, lessen the economic fallout, and foster a strong and equitable recovery.
More than $1 trillion of additional fiscal support is warranted, with a focus on supporting unemployed households, business operations, and state and local government budgets. Economic policymakers have responded aggressively to the pandemic, to your credit, but given the scale of the shock we are experiencing, more fiscal support for the economy is warranted until at least 2022.
The health and economic impacts have been brutal and have disproportionately hurt our most vulnerable communities. That's why we held hearings on the urgent need for aggressive, sustained COVID relief and investments to ensure an inclusive recovery and prevent health and wealth gaps from widening.
It is important to think about deficits and debt. I don't think now is the time to place the most weight on that. I think we are in an emergency situation. We're in a crisis. And that is the time where you draw into the deep pockets of the federal government to bail people out because there are people in deep need and they're in need of relief.
It's a big downturn. It necessitated a very big response, and we've seen, as a result, large increases in the deficit. I want to just emphasize that they were necessary, they were appropriate, and that going forward, more may yet be needed.
We even examined how artificial intelligence can help us fight the pandemic and improve vital government programs and services.
Some of the most promising areas where technology can be part of the solution include education, training, remote work, medicine, and government services. In each case, digital technology and powered by AI can be used to make services cheaper to provide, higher quality, more tailored to the individual need, and substantially more accessible and convenient.
While the committee remained focused on the crises at hand, Chairman John Yarmuth also led the committee in conducting critical oversight of the Trump administration's continued attacks on Congress's spending authority by conducting a 2-year investigation into how the Trump administration and OMB repeatedly bent and broke our nation's foundational budget laws to push President Trump's political agenda behind closed doors.
A deeper look clearly reveals how methodically the president and his administration have been circumventing our laws to advance their authoritarian view of executive power. To understand their scheme, we must understand the law they tried to secretly dodge and ultimately broke, the Impoundment Control Act.
And introducing the Congressional Power of the Purse Act. Included as Title V in the Protecting Our Democracy Act, this bill will reassert Congress's central role in funding decisions and protect our nation's separation of powers. As we look ahead to a new Congress and a new year, the House Budget Committee will continue to fight for a budget that works for the American people and moves our nation forward.